Hello, and welcome to another of Mrs. Kiely's art tutorial videos. In this video, I will be completing a self-portrait, and one that exemplifies and demonstrates the different mediums that you might be working with in the art classroom. I'm trying to create an overview or a taste test of all the different art forms that you can work with, whether it be Copic markers, such as this one, acrylic paints, watercolor paints, graphite pencil, illustration pens, cut and paste, or oil paints, and of course pencil crayons as well. Each medium is separated and contained within a circle, a small sphere or universe, which contains the medium and the artistic techniques that go along with each of the different art forms. These containment circles are kind of representing the concept that each one of these art forms is a little universe into itself with its own set of vocabulary words and artistic techniques unique to that art form. As I was working on this piece, I realized something, that there's a commonality between the different mediums, and that commonality was layering. When I built up the medium that I was currently working with, it created a more finished feeling piece. With this new awareness, I made a point to be cognizant and to think about how I was incorporating the artistic technique of layering as I worked through each circle. So as I was working with acrylics, I'd lay down the local color, the base layer, and then I'd paint the shadows and rework layers of flesh tones over that and highlights over the flesh tones. When I moved over to the graphite pencil area, I was thinking about how I'd start with a medium tone of gray and then build up the shadows from there. I think that my advice to all beginning artists is to never be satisfied with your first layer, whether it be in pencil, pencil crayon, or markers. Always try to build it up, to develop the middle tones, the shadows, and the highlights in order to achieve a more polished and finished piece. That being said, let's look at acrylic paints. You noticed earlier that I started with the first layer. It was a little too peachy, and I added layers of whiter colors, flesh tones, to bring up that color to tone down the saturation. And now I am working on the mouth and the teeth, tucking in the shadows as the mouth recedes away from the viewer, putting the highlights on the areas that are closer to the viewer, the shine on the lips to make it seem as though it's wet. And it's important to have a really teeny tiny brush for these tiny layers. The trick with teeth and here was to not use a pure white, and to incorporate layers of like a really pale yellow, even a pale blue, and then some white over top of that. And those other colors will kind of shine through. With the hair, I put down the base layer, that light yellow ochre, and then I worked in the shadows using like a greeny blue brown, and over top of those shadows, those colors, I incorporated more layers of ochre, that browny yellow, and the highlights, the lighter white yellow, and it all shone through because of, and all reunited because of that connecting base layer. In this next area, I'm working in watercolor paints, and I struggled a little bit in the beginning with this because I wasn't working on watercolor paper, which absorbs and reacts to the watercolor paints nicely. You could see, and you still can here, see my brush strokes on the forehead. And I figured out that problem and solved that problem by, once again, layering more paint on top. And again, you can see how I start with the local color, the yellow, and then add the shadows in and the highlights. And with watercolor paints, you can actually use the white of the page and let it shine through without any paint on top of it. That works in that art form. whereas with acrylics, you'd actually have to use white paint. You wouldn't necessarily use the white of the paper to shine through. In this next area, I'm working with my graphite pencils, and I have a lot of fun with these pencils. They're very easy to work with. Once you've mastered the artistic technique of layering, that's all it is just building up the graphite on the pencil, using the blending stick to hide your pencil strokes and blend it all smoothly in together so that one layer is seamlessly flowing into the next, that there's a nice gradation of value. It's the same for all the different mediums. That lightness and darkness is what builds that illusion of 3D form. Up here is the pencil crayon section of this self-portrait, and you can see that I used black, brown, even blue and white to get the background, and again, just blending it all together makes the piece feel finished. And as I was working through this self-portrait, I did a few modifications, enlarged some circles. I thought the graphite looked better if it was a bigger area. And then down here, I'm working in one of my favorite mediums, in illustration pens. I love the crisp cleanliness of a illustration pen piece. I find that the artistic techniques that you use in this medium are very therapeutic. I think hatching, cross-hatching, and stippling just really, are calming and peaceful to work in. And there I enlarged that circle a little bit more too, so that the overall self-portrait kind of had a sense of unity as the pieces, circles connected with each other. In this last section, I'm working in oil paints, and over on the left, I used cut and paste to do that little section of hair. And there you have it, my mixed media self-portrait. I hope you enjoyed this video. Feel free to leave your questions, comments, or compliments in the box below. Please click on like and share if you found this video at all helpful. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel. There'll be more videos coming. Thanks for watching.